Hello, traders. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Thursday, the 26th of September, 2019. Welcome to episode number 1604. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Today, we see crude coming off another percent. The effort by the Saudis to bring oil supply back to where it was pre-attack 2 weekends ago has succeeded, and oil is back to basically where it was before this whole thing happened. So that's where we stand. The market is allocating to risk this morning. It did pull back a fair amount overnight. We did have the indices rally. Allocation was to risk yesterday. After all, interesting day in terms of what it accomplished. It basically played all scenarios. All scenarios just played yesterday. It was just all over. Um, but today, allocations to risk, the leader today is the Euro stocks up 27 points or 0.74%. The DAX is up 66 points or 0.54%. The bonds are up 25 ticks, surprisingly, and the 10 years are up 8 big ticks. You would expect those to be a little bit off given the sentiment, but we're allocating to everything. Gold is up $2.50, trading at $1,515 or so. So that's where we stand this morning. Overall, we did get some key numbers today. GfK consumer confidence out of Germany came out at 2 a.m. Eastern. Strong 9.9 versus 9.7. U.S. GDP was released about a half hour ago, came in at 2% in line. And then moving ahead, we do have Draghi right at the U.S. cash open at 9:30 Eastern. Fed's Kaplan, U.S. Fed's Kaplan as well at the same time. At 10 o'clock, we have Bullard. 10 o'clock, we also have pending home sales. At 11:45, we have Fed's daily. At the same time, Fed's Clarita. And then again at 1:45, we have Fed's Clarita. Then at 2, we have Fed's Kashkari. So it's the Fed parade today. We got a lot of Fed speakers, and also Bundesbank's Weidemann is speaking at noon Eastern. And then this evening, we get a high-tier number out of Great Britain. The GfK consumer confidence comes out at 7 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, expecting negative 14. So that's what we have. We have quite a few Fed speakers coming out. Any one of these could say something that might cause an impact if it's a surprise. Each one individually doesn't have the voting power or anything to affect anything. After all, it's not the Fed President Powell, Fed Chair Powell speaking today. So that's where we stand. The theme overnight and for today, in terms of news, is really about the positive talk between China and the U.S. China has come out, I believe it was the minister, let me check so I'm not quoting the China Commerce Minister spokesman Gao Feng, reiterating the stance that China hopes the U.S. meets it halfway, find a win-win solution in fair and respectable way. Has caused the market to pop higher. Overall, the market is seeing the potential for a resolution here and pricing in higher values. So that's where we stand. We do this about once a month. I'd like to do it again today, but show it on your screen as well. I'd love for you, because I'm all about community, bringing traders together. This is why I started my prop shop in late 2003. This is why Convergent exists, and everything that I've done so far has to do with bringing traders together, creating a community, because that's what's important to me. Would you take a moment and just post in the chat if you are on Periscope? Would love for you to hit me up on Twitter and just say the state, the city, state, country, whatever fits, province, canton, wherever you're living. Tell us where you are, where you're hailing from. I like to do this on a repeating basis just to see how vast our community is and how distributed we are across the planet, from the Emirates to Singapore to New Zealand and Australia to Japan to all of Europe, Latin America, and Canada and Mexico. There's just somebody from somewhere. We're a truly global community, and I'm very, very proud of it. So give us a refresh. Tell us where you are. We'd appreciate it. Look around, look at the list, look at my Twitter feed, and see if there's somebody near you that you may be able to connect with. That would be really awesome if you can connect. So anyway, back to business. Back to business. This is the overall sentiment is risk on. I would caution shorts. Looks like we're on our way to the magnet in this area, which is 3,000 in the ES. Let's take a look at what we expected yesterday versus what we got yesterday. The primary scenario was expected to be responsive selling into the point of control, get tangled up within the point of control around that 2966 area. And then I expected a bounce up to push to 8150 and potentially 9150, which is the neckline, the key area above. That's what was expected. And I talked yesterday about the fact that we did have, and I'm not going to repeat yesterday's trader bite, we had an impulsive move down. This is an impulsive move. And then the expectation is that we are likely, this whole plan is a bear flag plan. Expected the market to expected the market to rest today and then make a lower low. Remember, we are always looking for a lower low after an impulse, and I didn't expect yesterday to be that day for several reasons, and I mentioned those. And what it did is it did all of these. Each one of these things ended up playing out. Here's a good look at what happened, and I'll tell you why I'm saying all of these played out. Let me play this back a little bit. We had the push up off the open. The 74 was beautiful. I narrated the 74 short in the Bookmap webinar, which I'll post a link for today on my Twitter feed. Somebody else might have posted it in the chat here in the YouTube chat. But we ended up making the lower low and continuing the impulse already yesterday, which was, it's to be expected, but it seemed too soon, too early to me. So we made that low, we put in the initial balance, and then we extended the initial balance up, and then we basically ran the market up to our key area above. What did I mention yesterday? 9150, man, 9150. Do you remember where this level comes from? It is the key low volume node. If you are here, you probably heard it. We have a high volume node at 8150 or so. Expected the market to get tangled up and have a reaction there. You see it right here. But 9150 is the low volume node and is the cutoff point between the lower distribution and the high volume distribution, which has the 3000 as its MC point of control. What does that look like? What the heck am I talking about? Here's what it looks like. Okay, look at this profile to the left, to the left, to the left. Here we go. So this is the profile of this entire region. I'm not including yesterday in it. The profile stops right here. You can see the outline of it. And I said that we got to watch this 9150 very carefully because the market is likely, it's likely to get tangled at 8150, but if it turns up, 9150 will probably be resistance, likely to come back to 8150. Hold steady, gain momentum, and then if it pushes through, expect the 9150 to get tested from above, the 3000 to be the magnet. Once we get above 9150, you want to hang tight for 3000. We talked about this yesterday. Again, the 9150 is a key low volume node below the point of control, very important, and 3005 is the key low volume node above the 3000. That's another key area up above. And what we had yesterday is it pushed right to 91.75. Not bad, right? Pushed through by a tick, pullback, and basically closed near highs. That's where that 91.50 comes from, and that's why it's key that it got tested yesterday. So today, we're looking at probably a reversion back to the high volume node of this region, which is right here at 81.50 or so. And as I include yesterday, you can see it's starting to build out. You can see the profile starting to build out down below. So it's starting to get fat right here. But acceptance, the highest acceptance is still up there in terms of volume. And that's the next area that's likely to be tested. I would caution shorts at this point. We did have a bona fide rally day yesterday, trend day up, and that's how we finished the session. The point of control near highs in the upper quartile, breaking one side, no distinct balance throughout the profile. This is what a trend day up looks like. And it had good volume on it. So 1.17 million contracts. The selling day had 1.7 million contracts. Had 1.7 million contracts below it on the way down, 1.17 on the way up. So let's take a look at the overnight session. The overnight session drifts back right into the 78.50. We build up. Where do we build up? Acceptance through the entire Asian session. That's right, 81.50, that high volume node area, 81.50 to 84 right in here, just holding steady. And then we break higher on the European Open, which is exactly when that Feng, Chinese Commerce Minister Feng, came out with that comment and caused the market to take a nice pop higher. Let me pull this up, pull up the scale. We got a nice little pop higher right on that news right here, right at the European Cash Open. And then what we have, though, at the top of the overnight profile is just a fugly high. We have a pretty weak high that is not really showing an excess. This looks almost like a shelf here in terms of volume. So this is very, very compressed in this area, this box here, the zipper. We're broken below it, so I'm expecting a retest of the high volume node down here at 83 quarter, 83.50. So I expect some selling on the open. I expect this continuation lower on the open, if not before the open, and that's how things are shaping up. This is, folks, this is a weak high. This does not look like a clean, clear rejection of the low. The low has a taper on it. Volume started to fall off as prices went lower. This is what we would expect when we have a lack of interest as we approach a low, but I'm not seeing an excess here. It went to the mid and VWAP exactly pulled up higher low, and then we had the news. In either case, the overnight session is showing lack of consensus, showing that price discovery was active through the entire value range from about 29.93 all the way through to about 29.83. Active discovery all the way through. So expect that to continue into this morning's session. Let's take a quick look at CT Bookmap. Again, you can always get this at ctbookmap.pro. There's a 14-day trial on it. But if we look at this thing here, we see that overall, very, very choppy session in terms of where the liquidity is, the collisions, and so on. I still have it filtered at 50, and there's quite a bit that traded here. The volume overnight is only 204, so 205,000, which is higher than historically normal, but still not all that high. And the overall delta from the night session The overall delta is negative. It's actually negative 2,900, 3,000 or so. While price has traded above and below the close, I would say overnight inventory is mixed as it stands right now. It's fairly mixed in terms of price and negative short in terms of volume. There's a more of an aggressor on the short side than the long side. You can see that in the CVD here in this uh, cumulative volume delta. You can see that these players have been hitting pretty good uh, after the news, after the news came out. We did have a rise, and then we just hit it pretty good there. So that's where we stand. The big liquidity area, guess what? It's 3,000, right? 3,000 has a lot of liquidity, and it's pretty steady. There's some defense ahead of it at between 29.97 and 29.98, so pay attention to that. Beneath us, not seeing anything solid until about 29.75. That's the first area that I see that is really meaningful. If I move the 3,000 out of the scene here, oh, actually, I can't do that without taking out the 75. But overall, the 75 is the bid that's likely to stick around. The overnight low has a bid in front of it, but it always does, or almost always does. That's how the overall picture in terms of order flow looks. Let's take a look at what we're expecting for today. Again, for those of you who just came in, please take a moment to tell us where you're hailing from, what city, state, country, province, whatever that you're coming in from. Um, Let's take a look at what's expected. This is a little long-winded because we did have a fair amount of action yesterday. The primary scenario this morning, we're opening up against the high volume node of yesterday. There's another high volume node down here, and I expect that we're likely to visit this area today. My expectation is an open auction that touches that VPOC from yesterday, but I'm looking for it to sell into the 81 area, consolidate and dip into the high volume node from yesterday and the open, not the open, the high volume node from yesterday, and that 74.75 area before it bounces back up and goes sideways. This is what I'm looking for on scenario one. I'm expecting it to respond back to yesterday's auction and take some of the the gains back from yesterday. That's how it's shaping up to be. We have basically what looks like a V bottom over the last couple of days. The buyers did a good job taking back some of the selling that occurred on the impeachment news on Tuesday. But still, I believe that a pullback would get more buyers pulled in, and I think buyers are a little bit exhausted from the looks of it from the action overnight. The secondary is a move down that impulses up, brings us back to yesterday's high. Yesterday's overall action is a trend day up, so I'm looking for a continuation. Consolidate in this 91.50 area, this low volume node, and I'm looking for a break towards 3,000, retest at 91.50, and then a battle in this 3,000 area, and that will be scenario two, not three. Two, 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 two. Okay. Um, those are the two key scenarios. You have um, as always, you have this possibility of an open drive, open test drive, open continuation, and so on. But my expectation is to sit on my hands and not comment. If you're in Convergent, you'll notice that I'm just not going to comment for in the Head Trader channel until things set up for about the first 20 minutes or so, and then I'll start to get an idea of what the market is doing and what direction is gaining over another, and then we'll start to provide some commentary there. Just pay attention to how it opens, the opening type. We know it's likely to open in this 28, 85, 86 area. And then look for the opening type and look for which rotations are wider and get more volume, and that gives us an early clue as to who's in control, who's likely to be in control, as well as which direction is facilitating easier trading. All good? All right, very cool. Hope you got all that. I know it's a lot to cover, and it's very fast, but it's there's a fair amount going on here. Pay attention to the news. Make sure your news feed is on. If you're a Convergent member, everybody has a news login. Keep it on, even if you don't like it. Just don't be surprised by the news. Good luck.